to the Stats Free Sports channel. Here to bring you NFL discussion on 8 rookies who I believe will have great impact on their new teams this season. Let's get into it, guys. So I want to say immediate impact so bad, but some of these guys might not take over for a veteran in training camp, whatever, but they will have, I believe, as the season goes on and when the season is eventually over for their respective teams, you will say that rookie had a great season for their team. So I believe some could start right away, but some will have, take a role or two over for some veterans as the year goes on. You still got training camp coming up soon, preseason, and also injuries and stuff happen too. So it's just bad play. Some veterans aren't playing up to par they used to play. So I think some of these guys will take over for whatever reason, and I think finish the year strong as one of the better rookies for their teams and also throughout the entire league. And two trigger warnings. One, no first round picks in this draft. As everybody always says, but I've said as well, that a lot of value can be found, great value can be found second, third, fourth, fifth, and some guys' name I didn't put on this list are in great situations as well, like my guy from Alabama that went to the Bengals. Forgot his name right now, but the wide receiver with the attitude issue, whatever. I did a video on him. Can't remember his name to save my life, but I did a video on him right before the draft started, and I said he could be the best player in this draft. I said that. He went to the Bengals, went to a great spot. We'll see what his role will be. I hope he doesn't go in the Tyler Boyd role for as a rookie, but I think he might be a long term replacement for T. Higgins on the outside. But we'll see. He's not in this video, but guys like him, uh, and his name escapes me because I love him so much, but I forgot his name. As soon as the camera started, I forgot his name, but I like him a lot, but he's not on this list. Guys like him that I left off. This list could have been 50 deep if I really wanted to go that hard on it, but limited to 8. And let's start. Oh, excuse me. The other trigger warning too. Non-Michigan fans, non-Jim Harbaugh fans, you might hate this list. I do have half the list are Jim Harbaugh connected players. They either play for Michigan or they play for him now. So the list isn't that long. So you should figure out who those guys are. But let's get into it, guys. Probably my favorite player in its entire list, Mike Sainristil. I mentioned Mike Sainristil on this channel a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I did a live reaction to a big time college football game. I forgot what game it was, but it was my first time seeing him, and he stood out. He was everywhere, flying to the ball, locking up receivers, aggressive, physical, but it's a difference between him and a guy like, let's say, Eric Rakestraw. Eric Rakestraw from Missouri, physical, in your face, but he's overly physical. He's gonna get penalized most likely, as in Mike Sainristil, he's physical he's in your back, he's in your bread basket, he's up in you, but he's not doing the most. He's not overly physical. He's doing it with great technique. As far as guys like Rakestraw and other guys like him, overly physical corners, they tend to struggle as early on throughout their careers trying to figure out how not to use their hands as much as they normally do. So I think Sainristil, going back to that game, whatever game that was, he made a lot of big plays, and that really stood out to me. I didn't do a video on him this draft cycle, but him with Dan Quinn now in Washington, I think that's going to be great must see TV because I think Sainristil is Quinn's version of Bland. They had last year and the year before that. They had a great year last year. I think he's that version of Bland. Now Bland didn't play the nickel, I don't believe, but they're different type players. But I think they can have similar impacts. That slot to me, I have Sainristil the same feeling I have for Sainristil, the same way I felt about Brian Branch last year from the Detroit Lions. I did a video on him before the draft last year saying Branch will be the best slot cornerback in the league coming into the draft, and he lived up to the hype. He might not be number one, but he's definitely top three, top four, top five. So I think Sainristil will be in the same kind of the discussions as the season goes on. So I have Mike Sainristil being an immediate impact rookie for the Dan Quinn led Washington Commanders. Next up, Braden Fisk for the Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, got to fill some big shoes. Aaron Donald has just retired, may come back. Sean McVay has mentioned if they need him in a late playoff run or in the playoff push, he couldn't retire. It is possible, but I like for him. I like for you to retire and stay retired. For me personally, for all guys, not just him. But Donald now gone. You have Kobe Turner, you have Byron Young, you have Jared Verse now, and another rookie. I'm not too high on, but could have some good impact. But I think Fisk up the middle has a big shoes to fill, and I think he can do that combined with him and Kobe Turner. So I like those two guys a lot. But I think for the Rams team it will be a full effort. But they did get better. I like the addition of Cameron Curl. I love the addition of Trey White. See what he has left from Buffalo Bills. They have Williams back, the other cornerback. So they made some good moves. I wish they could have made those style of moves while having Aaron Donald to maximize the defense. Because last year he was kind of by himself. I know Kobe Turner and Byron Young played well, but you needed some help on that safety on that DB room. They didn't really have that. But Braden Fisk, big boy, strong, solid. Reminds me of how I felt last year about Saints D tackle from Clemson, Breezy, how you say his name. I like him a lot as well. They're different style players. Obviously, uh, Breezy has a injury history that Fisk doesn't really have. But I think Fisk could have an impact like how I felt about him. Another nose tackle slash D tackle I like a lot last year in the same vein as Fisk is Benton from the Steelers. And I did a video on him immediately after the draft saying he's one of my guys. So I think Fisk could end up being one of my guys. Well, he's one of my guys on his list as well, but I think he could be a standout rookie, just like those two guys had good seasons as well for their teams. I think he could do something similar to this Rams squad, this very young Rams front seven. So Verse, Turner, Young, and now him with the veteran safety and cornerback room. I think this team could definitely do something nice. Given last year their defensive struggles really hurt them in the playoffs. Next up, another Michigan guy. This is one I love a lot, and like I said, I'm not really a Michigan guy. Not a Harbaugh guy at all, but he got some good players. And that's Junior Colson, linebacker, picked in the third round to the Chargers. And this to me was a great fit. The Chargers need good inside linebacker play. They haven't had that in a good little while. They had some nice stop guys, but they never really panned out like Kenneth Murray. I think he's with the I want to say Titans now, maybe or some. He's somewhere now. But a lot of the guys they had were kind of gap stop guys outside of Murray. They just never panned out. But him now, big, strong, fast, quick. He's like an old school linebacker, but has the quickness of one of these newer school guys like a Roquan Smith. He's not as quick as Smith, but he's in the same. He's right behind him. In my opinion, Smith and um, Devin Bush coming out, and he's not as fast as those guys, sideline to sideline speed, but he's not that far off. And he's just as big or even bigger than some of those guys. High IQ. And the big thing about him as well is he's played in Harbaugh's system the last couple of years. And Harbaugh brought over Jesse Minter, the DC for Michigan. He's now the DC for the Chargers. So I think immediately he's gonna, if he don't have a green dot this year, it's probably next year that Colson had a green dot, calling plays. But they're saying in rookie OTAs, he was phenomenal. And I think that will carry on to the season once the vets come involved, Bosa, Mac, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, all those guys. I think Colson will be the linchpin because he knows the system. He knows the system. He knows the schemes. He knows everything in and out. He just got to figure out the players around him, and that's not really hard to do once you get the chemistry and everything going. So I think Colson will have a great year for this new look Chargers team, and I think he'll have a great, awesome season. So I do. And look, side note on the Chargers full season, decent schedule, not too bad. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat. Whether they're a playoff team or not, we'll end up seeing. But I think they're going to be a tough out because I think Greg Roman on the offense will do fine. Herbert now limit his passes. The ball will be on the ground more. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, those guys. So I think they're going to be a new look. They're going to be a new look team, obviously, but I think they're going to be a very dangerous team as well. If you limit Herbert, limit the bad plays, and really focus on medium throws, strong arm throws, and go ahead and segue into it now. Another guy on this list, Lad McConkey, his new wide receiver. Now, I think Lad could be receiver one. He really can be. Palmer, what's his name? Jay Palmer. I forgot his first name now. Palmer has a little bit of the injury bug. As you know, Quentin Johnston not quite hasn't panned out last year as a rookie, but he's been putting in work trying to get better. We'll see what he can bring this year. But there's a real case when training camp comes, preseason comes. Lad McConkey, former Georgia wide receiver, can be receiver one from day one for this Chargers team. Now, is that a good thing? That's debatable. But he is solid. He is strong. He is one of the top second round picks for a reason. Some thought he could have went late first, but I do think that he could end up being receiver one for this Chargers team if Palmer doesn't quite show up or Quentin Johnson doesn't show up either, or no, not show up, but doesn't play or doesn't show improvement from last season. But Palmer's good. He just got to really just stay healthy. But they could see a better future, more potential out of Lad McConkey than they do Palmer, because Palmer, I think, on last year of his contract, they could let him walk after the end of the season. And they have Brendan Rice as well, another rookie guy who picked 6th, 7th round, so he should be hungry for a spot. His dad said he's going to train him now, which I thought he should have been doing anyway. But gotta be your own man as well. So I understand that dynamic. But I do think Brendan Rice could have some say as well, not receiver one, but have some impact early on too. So he's not a Michigan guy, but he is tied to Jim Harbaugh. So far on the list, we have Mike Samerstill from Michigan. We have Braden Fisk. We have who would you say? Junior Colson from Michigan now with the Chargers, and we also have Lad McConkey. Going away from Michigan for one quick second, that's Trey Benson from Arizona Cardinals, formerly of the Florida State Seminoles. I think he could be RB1 probably halfway through the season. James Conner, good story from a couple years ago. Played well. He's a solid running back, but he's getting up there in age last year of his contract, and also has a little bit of the injury bug. Also, we could definitely see Benson start day one, or maybe split carries day one, like 50-50. But I think he might be RB1 solely once the season reached the halfway mark, or first 8 games. Well, that's halfway, halfway mark, 7, 8 games. I think whether Connor's healthy or not, we might see a full load of Trey Benson in that new AZ Cardinals offense. So probably, I would say on my list, running back 2, I had him behind Jalen Wright. Some people had him 1, some people had him 4. This RB prospect list was kind of tough in this year's class. Everyone was up and down on everybody. Some like the kid from Kentucky, some like Jonathan Brooks from Texas off of the injury. But I think Benson was very good as well at his time in Florida State. So as I say, he's very talented, and I think he will end up being a starter eventually, if not from day one, with the Cardinals, with James Conner being his last year of his contract, getting up there in age also. I think it could be time to see something different. Now, reverting back to Michigan, one more last time. This is the last Michigan guy tied to Jim Harbaugh, and that's Roman Wilson. And surprisingly, in my opinion, when LA Chargers moved up in the second round, I'm like, yeah, it's guaranteed to be Roman Wilson. And when he picked Lad McConkey over Wilson, I was kind of scratching my head a little bit. But even if the player is tired of you and the player, his weaknesses also. And I guess he felt Lad was better. But let me tell you this. I'll tell you one thing. Roman Wilson with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I said this prior to in a different video. He's the number 2 wide receiver on the depth chart, in my opinion. But he could have the most targets and the most the most balls towards him, because Pickens is kind of a limited wide receiver, a deep threat. That's really about it. Good hands, strong hands, but he's not really he doesn't have a great route tree. He's not an underneath wide receiver. He's more of a deep threat, middle of the field type of guy. Russell Wilson doesn't mind a check down, doesn't mind a short throws. And I think that's when Roman Wilson can show out in those plays also, while Calvin Austin, more of a gadget guy, and I guess their slot guy as of right now, the third string wide receiver, he'll be that the deep gadget guy type of guy. Then you have Roman Wilson who can do it all, 3 level guy, and then George Pickens, a wide receiver one on this team, but he's more of a strictly deep threat, middle of the field option than anything else. And the ball got to come out fast. I think Russell Wilson will find Roman Wilson a lot more reliable and quicker than he can anybody else. So I think Roman Wilson will have a great, awesome season, and I think he could be uh, rookie of the year, depending on how everything shakes out. I know if some of the big guys like Neighbors and Harrison Jr. They show out, then it's going to be tough. But I think he could probably finish in the top 5, top 3, depending on how the Steelers offense looks. So that's something to look out for. Also, Roman Wilson with Russell Wilson, that connection could be something special for this Pittsburgh Steelers team, and also the defense. They gotta stay healthy. Highsmith, everyone. If they can stay healthy all year long, not just most of the year or some of the year, and keep White healthy, and all that offense shows up to be at least better than what they saw last year, they could be a problem. And I think the Wilson connection will probably be the main thing to help push them to the next level. And then last on this list, make sure I'm not missing anything before I forget. Ladd McConkey, Trey Benson, Roman Wilson, Mike Samuel. Oh no, I have 2 more left. Excuse me, 2 more left. Both pass rushers. I'll start with my guy first from my Atlanta Falcons. That is Braylon Trice from Washington Huskies. I love him a lot, man. As I said before on this channel a million times, I did a prediction video back in November 25th. I did another videos, 2 or 3 videos after that, sometime after that. I want Leatu Latu very badly. It has never been hidden on this channel, but Braylon Trice is like Leatu Latu light. He's in the same vein. He's a little smaller, a little smaller in height and weight, but he gives you kind of the same feel. Great pass rushing arsenal, has a good has good technique, has a good pass rush bag, high IQ for as a pass rusher. He gives you everything Latu does. I just think Latu does it in a better way and better fashion and more consistent with it. But Trice gives you kind of that same feel. So him with my Falcons now, I think he'll be starting from day one opposite of Arnold Ebuketi from Penn State. But if not, I think he'll get some good burn and good rush early on and early and often also. And I think he'll be a wonder for this Falcons team who struggled with pass rush and pressures last year. In the last couple years, we haven't had a dominant pass rusher in I don't know how long. And I think Trice might not be dominant, but he could be the help that we needed to get more pressure, more sacks, more backfield work, and that's something that he has the counter pass rush bag to if he gets stops on one move, he can keep going. A lot of these guys coming in don't have that. And I said in the past, Latu, Trice, and 1 or 2 more guys have that bag coming out the gate immediately. And I'm glad we got one of those guys. I want Latu. I never made that I never not made that clear. I want Latu very badly, but Trice is definitely a good consolation prize. A little bit shorter, a little bit lighter in weight as well, but he gives you kind of the same feel. So I think Trice could definitely have some impact on this Falcon team who needs help in that edge rush spot very, very badly. And then last on this list, another pass rusher. Let me make sure I say his name right. I have it. I know who he is, but I think Adiza Isaac. I'm trying to put my notes up. Adiza Isaac from Baltimore Ravens, from Penn State. And look, low key. Penn State is kind of like pass rush you. I'm not gonna lie. They always have good linebackers and good pass rusher, but the linebackers they have, all of them can pass rush. So they're kind of like our edge rush, pass rush you. Chop Robinson from this year from the Dolphins, Michael Parsons, obviously, and the list goes on. They keep a couple good pass rushers and also some good DBs every year, every other year. So, but Adiza Isaac for this Ravens team could be a day one guy. You know, they let Clowney walk. Clowney's now with the Panthers, if I'm not mistaken. They kept Kyle Van Noy. He's there another year or two for the Ravens squad. But you have opposite him, you're banking on David Ajabo from Michigan a couple years ago, who hasn't quite panned out yet. And you have another Penn State prospect, freaky athlete, Odafe Away. He hasn't panned out quite yet either. So in training camp come, in preseason time come, if Isaac can show the energy that he showed in the good play and energy he showed in Penn State, he could definitely start over those two guys opposite Cal Van Noy from day one. But Ajabo from Michigan a couple years ago, that nasty injury prior to the draft, he was good. He was a prospect for a reason. He was a top prospect for a reason, and he had first round buzz during that time as well. And Odafe Away, same freaky athlete, big fella that can move quick, good hands. So maybe they can come and finally show their form and their potential. But if not, Adisa Isaac can steal their spot. Like, he is very good, very very energetic, and someone I liked a lot. If we didn't get Braden Trice, I did want to get Isaac or someone in that vein, because he's a very solid linebacker, very solid edge rusher, and I think he could definitely get the job done for that Ravens team, who always keeps some nice pass rushers, yet some young ones too. I know the saying is, or the word on them is, they like veteran guys, but that's because their young guys the last couple of years haven't quite panned out. If Odafe would have panned out right away, or David Ajala would have panned out right away, or a year later, then they wouldn't need Clowney, those guys, or Van Noy from a couple of years ago. They could start those guys on both of the edges, but they haven't worked out yet. So they have to continue to go to that veteran route, But I think Adiza Isaac can definitely start from day one for this Ravens team, depending on what his former, what his new teammates do in David Ajabo and Dafe Away, because those guys have potential. They just gotta show it. They gotta stay healthy, and they gotta play well. And we'll see what they do with their new D coordinator this season, because they do have a new D coordinator. Mike McDonald's now going to the Seahawks, so we'll see what he does there. And their new D coordinator runs a little different scheme, so we'll see what happens with Isaac and all the rest of these rookies on this list, because I think all these guys will definitely have impact. They will definitely have impact throughout the season, but some of these guys can have impact from day one, depending on their respective circumstances and situations. So, but that's it for the video, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys next time.